Spring is in the air at Global Voice Broadcasting. Fresh new shows are hitting the airwaves every day. Shows about all the things that matter to you in your life. Music, fashion, celebs, and more. It's all here, and it's getting better every day. Only at Global Voice Broadcasting.
What's up? Welcome to another episode of All Over Voiceover with Kiff VH. I am Kiff VH, your host, and I want to welcome to the studio my good friend, the lovely, the talented Dave Fennoy. Dave, thank you so much for joining us.
I love the lovely part. Thank you so much.
You're a lovely person. You're a lovely man. All of it.
Thanks, Kiff.
You bet.
I should start calling you Cliff, just... Yeah, that Cliff Vander what's his name?
Yeah. I played a character, Cliff, on Richie Rich. So the character's Cliff, and
did it confuse you?
Never confused me.
Director coming in, Cliff. Cliff.
You just kind of accept it. You just kind of like, all right, that's fine. It's all good. You call me whatever you need to call me.
Just call me.
Just call me. That's exactly right. We've known each other for a while.
It's funny. A lot of times you meet people and you don't really, you meet them a few times, especially in our business.
Yes.
Voiceover work has become a very singular endeavor. We're in our home studios. If you're doing a lot of video games, like we do,
yes,
most of the time you're working by yourself.
Yeah.
The only times we tend to run into each other are conventions, somebody's party, that kind of thing. We did a couple of shows a while back, and I think that was the first time I really got to sit down and talk with you.
We hung out at Pat Duke's one time and talked in the pool and hung out, which was great. It's always it's such a Hollywood way to meet. We were over at Pat Duke's pool party.
Oh yes, actually, it was fabulous
with mimosas and whatnot. But yeah, we did Brandon Jones' GT Live podcast.
There you go.
And
I did some commercials with his wife.
Oh, with Amanda.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She was one of my guests.
Yeah. And she was great. We did some McDonald's commercials, and she was just fantastic.
That's awesome. It's such a, I love how the community is, there is so much overlap, and you get to work with so many different people, and there's all these wonderful places where you intersect.
There's something about voiceover people. I find that, when you get into the on-camera world, I know a lot of wonderful people in the on-camera world, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But you also run into I'm an actor, and you're not an actor, or perhaps you're an actor, but you're not an actor like I am an actor.
Right.
People I think in voiceover are much nicer, much more willing to share information and just be real with you.
I find that too. It was interesting. My wife had mentioned to me that she was working with some New York stage actors, and one of them made some disparaging comment about voice actors being head talkers. They're like, oh, they just talk in a microphone. That's not real craft. And to hear
where they at, man? Come here and say that to my face.
That's right. Our point back was kind of like, look, I get it. I understand why you might have that perspective, but we get the advantage to create this spectacular world, in places where you wouldn't normally do that. In your street clothes, behind glass, staring at 5 people. And
we don't need no stinking costumes to make the character come to life. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly right. I don't need to be able to have a prosthetic
I don't need no lighting guy, no makeup, no hair, because I got the great hair. All I need is my voice, man.
That's it. All you need is your voice. How'd you get started?
Wow. Well, it goes back early. I was a child actor in Cleveland on stage.
No kidding.
Yeah, there's a community theater. If you know a black actor from Cleveland, he probably or she probably went to Karamu House. It was a community theater in Cleveland.
Yeah,
You've heard
Karamu,
of it.
yeah.
There you go. And I took fencing and music and modern dance and acting. And I was in several productions there. When I went to high school, Went to a private boys' school, Hawkins School at that time for boys. Now it's co-ed.
Okay.
I was president of my theater society there and directed some plays and acted in some plays and went on to college as a theater major and directed some plays and acted in some plays. Then I went out on the road as a musician for some reason.
No kidding.
Did that for a while. Went back to college in music. Played professionally for a few more years, and then discovered I wasn't gonna grow up to be a rock and roll star after all.
Was it the choice were you playing jazz music then, or were you?
I was playing R&B mostly.
Okay.
R&B. Well, I kind of started. It was kind of a funky folk thing. It was just me and guitars and then writing songs and what, kind of like the late Richie Havens.
Oh yeah.
Kind of a thing. Then into a jazzy and R&B thing. I played just about everything but country western.
Sure.
And but after I got married, had a kid, and sometimes I was making money in music, sometimes I wasn't.
Yeah.
Kid needs milk. They don't care where it's coming from.
Right.
Fool that I am, I went into radio. And fortunately for me, I found some success there.
Were you still Ohio-based then? Or
No.
where'd you-
I'd moved around so much. I had lived in Texas for a while. I lived in Minnesota for a while. I'd gone back to school in Washington, D.C. at Howard University, where the president just gave the commencement address.
Did he really?
It was fabulous. From there, moved to Northern California, where I began my radio career, and was fortunate enough to end up doing mornings at the number one music station in the Bay, KSOL 107.7, working under the name Billy David Ocean.
Billy David Ocean. That's great.
No, it's not great. It's awful. It really is awful.
Why do you select a name like Billy David Ocean, or what was?
There it is. I didn't select it.
Oh wow!
My first night on, my first job there at KSOL was overnights, and they had Dave Padilla and Dave Gilton. I don't know where Dave Gilton is now. Dave Padilla is still a really good friend of mine in the news department, and he's doing the Padilla news at KCBS Radio up in San Francisco now.
Oh wow!
But the program director said, well, look, we got two Daves. The last thing we need is another one. So I became Billy Ocean. Then, after I'd been on the air for about a year or so, Billy Ocean, singer, came out. We'll give it a few more bars.
While you stare in the same dream.
Yeah, that's nice. Okay, that's enough.
All right, good. Thanks.
And I got tired of the phone calls. Hey, man, wow, I like your record. It's not my record. But your name's Billy Ocean, dude. And yeah, well, we just have the same name. Well, wow, how'd you get the same name, man? I said, what's your name? Fred Johnson. Fred, do you think anywhere on the planet there might be another Fred Johnson? So, so to cut out some of those phone calls, at that point, I reinserted David into my name, Billy David Ocean. And by that time, Dave Gilton and Dave Padilla had left the station, so it was okay.
You can't just stop either. San Francisco, we're going to take a moment to have a heart-to-heart, and I'm going to explain to you, my name is not Billy Ocean.
Yeah, no,
I'm actually Dave Fennoy.
Yeah.
I've been lying to you, San Francisco.
And fortunately, when I moved down here to do voiceover work, I said, you know what? This would be a really good time to just own who I really am.
Yeah.
I've been lying to you. It's Dave Fennoy.
What made that transition? What was that transition like, going from radio and the style of radio into
the style of radio where you're talking like this all the time?
Yes.
Well, you have to learn to overcome that radio thing when you pick up a piece of copy, because you've been reading that 60-second copy that really is 70 seconds worth of copy.
Yes.
And it's phone numbers and percentages off this particular product, and you got to tell them how to get to the store where they can save their money.
Right.
You just kind of you have to unlearn some of that, or relearn a way to just get back to a real voice. And what I do now, and when I teach, and I get a lot of people that come out of radio want to do voiceover work, and the thing they always do is, I've done hundreds of commercials. I know how to make copy sound good.
Right.
And you go, nobody believes that, dude.
Yeah.
You have to break them down and get them to understand that that's acting too.
Yes.
That you really, actually what you did was you took on an acting job as an announcer. And now it's time to add some other things, be able to just come back to a more normal voice, realize most of us don't enunciate that clearly.
Yeah.
We don't elongate each word so that every word is heard. And you just have to unlearn that. You still, it's a little box there you can pull out to use from time to time.
Yeah.
But you just kind of have to unlearn that. And you transition into areas that are more akin to radio announcing. For me, it was promos. I did a lot of promos. I still do. But I was a Disney Channel voice. Did promos for CBS TV daytime, all their soaps.
Yeah.
ABC, a lot of that kind of thing. I still do a lot of in-show announce for awards shows and that kind of thing.
Oh, great.
So there's some parts of being a disc jockey that you can kind of transfer into some other things in voiceover.
And it's got to help you too in the live read stuff where you're doing an event like an award show where you've got to be able to pronounce not only do the names,
not only pronounce but
not
pronounce.
only pronouncing the different presenteers.
That's one of the toughest things about live announce is one, it is live announce. You don't get a second chance. And knowing how to pronounce all the names of all the people that are coming up, and whether it's a music show or it's TV stars or movie stars or, God forbid, the Olympics.
Oh, boy. I never even thought about that, but yeah.
Every 4 years, I just feel really bad for the sportscasters that have to.
Here's.
And here's. Are there any vowels in this name?
And you can be all American about it, or some other thing. But at the end of the day, it's like I want to honor these people, and I want the event to go smoothly.
Yeah, and you definitely want to say their names correctly,
and
or as close as you can.
I just emceed an event for the Society of Camera Operators, and I was on stage and introducing, and most of the names were easy, but there were a couple where I walked around for the better part of the day before,
scratching your head.
Yeah, and finding I found. One of them was Ioan Gruffudd, who's the actor in the Fantastic Four. He played Mr. Fantastic in the previous series, and his name is spelled I-O-N-E. And I was like, do you pronounce? And I ended up finding a clip on Jimmy Kimmel where he explained the whole thing to Jimmy about how to do it. I'm like, sweet, found it.
Yeah.
And then
thank God for the internet. I had a gig like that. This was a narration, and it's still running from time to time on Science Channel, When Earth Erupts. And it's all about earthquakes and volcanoes and that kind of thing. And you remember the volcano a few years ago that went off in Iceland?
Yes.
And kept planes out of the sky for a week? Well, I had to pronounce the name of that. And if you know anything about Icelandic, it's really hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
And even when you read it, when you see it written out, it doesn't sound anything like you might think it would sound.
Yeah.
I had to go online and find a clip of this Icelandic woman talking about that volcano. She was on the Today Show.
Wow.
And Eyjafjallajökull is the name of the volcano. But if you were trying to say it phonetically from the spelling, oh, no way.
No way.
And I remember doing that before the gig, and I was like, I got it. So, and I know the producer, he was thinking, he's going to screw this up.
Right.
And I just nailed it. Then I screwed up a bunch of other stuff later on, but
you earn it. Earn the right to screw up down the road. If I can come in here and stick a pronunciation like that, it's the greatest feeling ever. It's the greatest. Like I don't have to dig ditches. But what I do got to do is figure out how to pronounce that name properly. Oh, that's wild. When you in preparation, with narration in general, how do you prepare for stuff like that? Do you sit down with, now with the internet, but phonetically go through the script in advance, or do you sight read a lot of scripts, or you always try to prep
it depends on how soon you get the script. Generally, you're getting the script a day before.
Yeah.
If you get it 2 days before, that's great. I like to read through the script once or twice and find those words that might be problematic. Also discover, people make mistakes, so discover where they've misspelled something, or the tenses don't match, or that kind of thing, so you can be clear. And, if you mouth it a few times, you kind of get the words in your mouth.
Yeah.
Because we all speak a little differently, and you write one way and somebody else writes another. And, gee, I would have put this phrase like that. So you want to make the words your own. So if you can get a chance to read it over beforehand, great. And find those words, go on the internet, how is this pronounced? And hopefully it's not one of those words that is a detail or detail. Oh, data or data.
Ugh. And it's fascinating how regional that stuff is too.
Oh,
if you're working with an ad agency that's out of Louisville, they're gonna have, or even that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
But those nuts and bolts too are, I don't know. I'm fascinated.
That's the boring stuff in our job.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Let's talk about some exciting stuff.
How did you transition into video games? What was that process from going from?
Well, you know what? I came to LA in 1990. There really weren't jobs for voiceover in video games at that time, or if there had been, they were very few and far between.
Yeah.
In the early 90s, I started doing voiceover for video games, some Lucas games. I was in a pod racer game and a bunch of other stuff. And got to play Lando Calrissian. And,
oh, man.
But at the time, I didn't really realize where this video game thing was going. And it just turns out that I thought of it as, it's another animation gig. I'm on some cartoons, and these are cartoons that people play on their computer.
Right.
But over the years, the video game industry grew and has continued to grow, and I was piling up credits that I wasn't even thinking about.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine, about 5 or 6 years ago now, sent me a demo of stuff I had done. I didn't even have a video game demo. Sent me a demo of stuff he had found on the internet, on YouTube, because the gamers post everything.
Yeah.
And, wow, I forgot I did that. Oh, I was in that game. At that point, I'd been in about 80 games, and some of the biggest games in the world, without really thinking about it. And shortly after that, the Walking Dead game came along.
Yeah.
And that kind of took me from being the character actor that you heard a lot but didn't know his name to gave me a little star status.
Yeah.
And as the games have grown now, because they're growing exponentially. This is the biggest entertainment business in the world.
Yes.
Remember when the new Star Wars came out?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was excited because it made $1 billion in 12 days. There have been 4 or 5 games that did that in a day.
Yeah.
Wow. So
it's staggering.
It is staggering. It is staggering. And for some reason, our media pays very little attention to the video game industry.
Yes.
It hires a ton of people, not just voice actors, but the animators, the programmers, the musicians, the artists, and on and on and on and on and on. It's quite an undertaking.
It's so vast, and I think to a certain extent the media just simply doesn't understand how vast it is. And it's kind of like if the people in the media would go home and look at what their kids are doing, they would understand how many copies of these games are just sitting on top of their desktops underneath their folded over New York Times.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But kids, that's another thing. It's a misconception that it's kids playing.
That's
15
true.
years ago, it was kids playing. The average age of a video game player now is about 35.
Wow.
And they've been playing for about 15 years. And we used to think pimply, plump kid. Well, now maybe pimply, plump kid, but there's some pimply, plump women in there too.
Yeah,
actually. Boy, did that come out wrong. Yeah, you can send your tweets to me. I'll take it. I'm sorry. What I'm trying to
there are also
say.
some absolutely pure-skinned.
Yes. They don't all have pimples.
They don't all have pimples, and they're
not all plump.
You come however you come to it. You pick up that controller. You play how you do. You
do. But 50% of gamers now are women.
My wife is a huge gamer, and
there you go.
And she is. We're both in our mid-40s.
Yeah,
and,
there you go.
And I play more platform games and more. And the stuff that matters to me, like I've been chewing on The Witcher 3 now for most of the year, just slowly picking away at it. But like, it's absolutely true. And then the misconception, as you say, like my daughter is playing what we play.
Exactly.
And she'll pick it up and noodle with it. But for the most part, she's watching other media. She's taking different things in.
And she'll be interested. Your daughter is what?
She's 9.
9?
Yeah.
She's going to be interested in other things just like, any 9-year-old. Oh, God, that's what Dad is playing.
Right. Exactly. I'm not going to play that.
Dad, can I have the Kardashian game?
Right.
And that's another big game.
Oh, man.
God save us.
That's right. There's like a little app. It's like you get to choose different fashions for
I know.
and it's amazing.
We're all going to hell because of the Kardashians.
Oh man. Well, with the Walking Dead experience and that had to be as a character actor. You get to you pop in, you do a bit.
Yeah.
And you take the given circumstance, the action, etc., and you bring in there. When you take the journey of a character like Lee from the first frame of the game to the end of the first season, how did you approach that? Did you know the scope?
I did not when I first got it. I was very happy to get the part because the audition sides were so good, and it was The Walking Dead, and which is one of the most iconic properties out there now. This is on the same level as Star Wars and Marvel and DC Comics. This is just deeply embedded in our culture, and anytime you can be a part of something like that, it's very special. So I was happy to get the part, but within the first 20 minutes of the first session, I knew it was very, very special. This was a script like nothing I'd ever had before. I didn't have to do any crazy voices. This was not a creature. It was not a bad guy. It was just a guy.
Yeah.
And there was a lot about this guy that reminded me of me. If I weren't doing this, I'd probably be a history professor someplace. He had been a college professor who, found his wife cheating, killed them, and he was on his way to prison when the zombie apocalypse freed him, introduced him to this little girl who, by saving her, he redeems himself.
Yeah.
Very human story.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things that makes the Walking Dead world so successful. The zombies are there. They're a constant danger, but the drama's really about interacting with the survivors.
Yeah.
So I loved it. I loved it, and just like almost every other game, you're working by yourself, but I was so affected, I got the director to invite everybody to dinner. We were working on episode 4, I think, and I got them to invite everybody because I wanted to meet who these great voice actors were that I was sharing this game with.
Yeah.
And we had a great time, and we're still friends.
Awesome.
And it's one of the best working experiences in my life.
Oh man, and that, as a testament to the fans and the legacy of the game. Also, I mean, you just get a sense of the impact of how it felt to tell that story and to immerse yourself in it, and
a lot of times my sister's a doctor, and I used to tease her, "Oh, you've got the important job. I'm just having fun." But when you start going to conventions and people come up to you and let you know what the game meant to them and what the relationship between Lee and Clementine meant to them, how it touched them, how it somehow improved their lives. I had a young woman come to me. She had a son who was autistic in some way, and sometimes he would have fits. And she said, the only thing that calms him down is hearing your voice as Lee. And it's like, how do you take that?
Yeah.
It's just, wow. So every now and then I'll do a little Lee thing and send it to some little MP3.
That's fantastic.
But in video games now, we are taking on some of the same kinds of roles in people's hearts as our TV and movie stars.
Yeah.
This geek society, this geek world, these nerds, they want to know who we are and what we're all about, and they'll tell us more about us than we know about us.
It's really interesting, Dave. I had Carol Kimball on just the other day.
Great casting director.
She's wonderful. And she said to me, she was like, after listening to your demo, I know this about you and this about you and this about you and this about you. And my reaction to that was, Carol, I've met you 6 or 7 times. I've come into your office. We haven't really hung out socially, but you described me to myself in a really strange and personal way. And it was neat and cool, but also at that same time, you think about a little bit. And as performers, we're bringing our own life experience and our own, you know what I mean, to these characters. And here you are, you lay, and the emotional.
Excuse me for this. It's like, if you are an aspiring voice actor, what he just said, take that in. Take that in.
Yeah. Yes. You bring so much of your personal experience to it. Your loves and your fears and your passions. And
your
then
worldview.
Absolutely. And you pour it into this thing.
Yeah.
And it's and the people who receive it, you think about just because of the nature of the immersion of it. It just completely it's overwhelming. And then, but you do the session, the check clears, you go on to the next thing. I don't think about that capture of that emotional content.
No.
You know what I mean?
Well, you don't. What you do is you take a script and you translate it through yourself and your own world experience and whatnot. So how you would do it and how I would do it and anybody else is going to be different.
Yeah.
If we're playing a bad guy, still a bad guy, but different. Good guy, but different. Scared guy, whatever it is. There's something in your voice print, in your emotional makeup, and all the things that make you, because of your experiences, that comes through that you don't really have anything to do with other than you lived.
Right. Oh, that's great. Yeah, these experiences in our life create, just you mentioning, the bad guy, for example. Perfect. We all know that his desire is to conquest the world. But the way you would go about doing that versus how I would do that, what little tiny variants are the differences that make those lenses focus?
Yeah.
It's like a lightsaber in my head.
Well, it's funny. I teach specifically right now voice acting for video games, and I've been around the country in London and whatnot. About to do it in here in Los Angeles
at Bang Zoom, right?
At Bang Zoom on Magnolia, the weekend of June 10th, the Saturday and Sunday workshop, and an evening talk and Q&A on Friday.
Awesome.
But one of the things that I believe and teach is you really have to get in touch with yourself, your own feelings, but what is your character thinking? What is your character doing? Who's your character talking to? Thinking, feeling, doing, who he's talking to, and what's that relationship? And that's kind of a shorthand for me to how this line goes. And the other thing is, don't try to make the words feel a certain way by how you say them. Make them feel a certain way by how you feel.
Oh, wow.
And just let that come out.
Yeah.
And I know in VoiceOver 101, I want to tell you this wonderful story about it. You're like, stop. Just say it.
Yeah. You have to trust that your that the way you're emanating those lines.
Yes.
I was saying to some students the other night, like the words, in a way, words don't matter. Words are a train that you fill with the emotion, and the emotion is being delivered because the emotion is too big, so you got to pack it into a little train to carry.
We should be on camera. Your face is so fantastic right now, Kiff. If you could see Kiff's face right now and how into what he's saying he is, but this is actorship.
But
right. This is actor stuff.
That's right.
And we get into it like that. And that's one of the things. Oh, and this is why you work. This is why you work. This is why you're a good actor. Because anybody that is listening that is interested in voiceover, take this in. Forget the words. Play the phrases.
Yeah.
And how you feel. Don't try to I'm going to make it go up here and down there, and I'm going to hit this word. Forget all that.
Yeah.
If you just play the phrases and how you feel, those places where you really need to hit those words, it'll just come in. It'll surprise you where it comes in. You may not know. You can't plan that. And that's not to say with a lot of things you do want to make some plans for how this is going to go. But once you do, release and let it happen.
Yeah, that's the truth. I love it when a piece of copy hits me emotionally.
Yeah.
And you find yourself like choked up in the moment trying to get the words out, and it just surprises you. But like the emotional content is there, and you know, I think the importance for any endeavor is to, especially, we talk all the time about do what you love, do what makes you passionate, do what that kind of thing. But like to be able to share your excitement, passion, joy, sorrow, pain, etc., with the world in a safe context, in a way that lets people know that they're not alone.
Yeah,
it's a powerful thing,
and that's what art is all about.
Yeah,
that is what art. Yeah, it's funny, and I've told this story before, and stop me if you heard this. But doing the goodbye scene between Lee and Clementine, I knew I was supposed to be emotional, but when I did it, because this is, we did 5 episodes of this game, and it took about a year to do. Yeah. So I've been living with this character for just about a year. In that episode, in that goodbye, I was supposed to cry. Yeah. I was going to fake it, but the real tears came. The real feelings came. Yeah. Because I had been living with that character for so long, and in my heart, I believed in who I was.
Yeah.
And the real tears came out, and they were videotaping and whatnot, and it doesn't get any better than that as an actor.
Yeah, I agree.
When the lines you're reading are really touching your soul.
Yeah. It's Dave's crying again now, for real.
No, I'm
not. It's the image just came to me of sort of the Matrix, in a way that when you're telling this story and you're in that moment telling that story, whether it's a 3-minute scene or a it's a little bit easier when it's dramatic, I suppose, to a certain extent, because it doesn't matter, whatever. But there's an element where there's the real life, and then you step into that character, and you've created this reality, and it's a virtual reality that people will participate in. Mm-hmm. And Lee says goodbye to Clementine, and it's overwhelmingly emotional, and everybody is going with you on that journey. But then the scene is over, and you step out, and you collect yourself, you have a drink of water, you use the bathroom, you shake hands, you do what you do, and you're Dave Fennoy driving back up the 405.
And wondering, do you get this? I still get this. When the gig's over, there's a little sadness. I was so happy to do
always.
it, and damn, is it over already?
Always.
And I mean, I've been doing this in LA since 1990, and that feeling has never. I'm just as excited every time I get the call, or now email or text from my agent that,
sure.
Oh, you're booked for such and such on such and such a day.
Yeah.
Can you make it? I'm just as excited. Oh man, I'm working.
I'm a working actor. I did it.
And when it's done, it's like, shoot. That was so much fun. Well, bye, everybody.
Tremendous sadness.
Yeah.
I especially when it's way shorter than you anticipate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
When
which I bet happens a lot with you, because it happens a lot with me. When you've been doing this for a while and you're good, it doesn't take that long. They book you for 4 hours. You're done in 2, and you're like, I
now
don't
I have
get
all this
to play anymore.
I guess I'll go to Amoeba and walk around for a while. Amoeba's a wonderful record store in Los Angeles. But like, I absolutely feel that way. And you know, I feel it frequently with auditions too. Like an audition for a character that I may not get to play, but it came to me.
Yeah.
And for that moment in time,
Yeah.
you know, I go in the booth and I'm that character for a minute. And even if I'm like, okay, well, there that goes, you let that go, and maybe, just maybe, I'll get to play him again for real. But like, it's still, even the audition context, it's still it has to be for real in that space.
There have been a few great actors who have pointed out that the thing as an actor to do is to act. No matter what it is, if it's on stage, a little movie, TV show, theater someplace, you just want to act. You just want to do your craft. And for us, that more often than not happens at home auditioning.
Yeah.
And that actually is our real job.
That's exactly
is to
right.
audition, because once we get the gig, it's like, yay, we're having fun.
I'm
Woo-hoo.
paid whether they're going to use it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, the work is the audition.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And I don't know if I don't know. Maybe you teach. We're friends. What's your point of view on this? I tell, especially beginning actors, people who are beginning their journey into voiceover, even if they're in a place where they're not in the union yet. Like I start. I learned this craft in a way like on the job. I mean, I started doing.
Oh, we all do.
You know
We
what?
all do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can take a class here or there, but ultimately, you're really going to work on the job. And if the job starts in your closet, and that's really the job, get training without a doubt. But while you're training, don't just not audition. Like, figure out how you can get your hands on stuff and go after it. Is that
Well, it's easier now than it ever has been.
right?
I mean, when I started, you had to be in New York, Chicago, L.A. You had to have an agent. You had to be in a union.
Yep.
Nowadays, for better or worse, we have the pay-to-play sites.
Yeah.
I have run into people who are getting their careers started on Fiverr, of all places. You know, and on one hand, Fiverr, you know, you're lowering the cost of our work and blah, 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 blah. But on the other hand, you got to start somewhere. And if they're using that as a starting place to move on up and get good, okay,
I get
who am I to argue with that?
Right.
But there are so many more opportunities now for voiceover work.
Yeah.
The e-learning, the audiobooks, even the telephonic, where people need somebody. Thank you for calling XYZ Company.
Right.
Your call is very important to us.
That was how I got started.
If you know the number, if you know the name of the person you're trying to reach,
Dial 1.
dial 1. Yeah.
Dial 7. And it was $25 a script, and it was in Toledo, Ohio, a company called Business Voice. They may still be there. And that was, but it was scratch. It was gas money. It was a way to start, and it was time behind a microphone. And
There you go.
it didn't matter what I was saying. It was a matter of trying to find a way to break in.
I had a gig, TV 20 in San Francisco, doing promos for the station, 20, as many as you could do in an hour, $25 for the hour. I was also, there was a thing, Megaphone, that was in the 976 numbers were in. This is all in the 80s, some of my first gigs. And I was the voice of the Prince hotline and the Michael Jackson hotline.
What?
Yeah.
So what would people would call the hotline to like get updates?
They
and
didn't
information?
call anything. I gave updates, because things weren't that interactive then. So it was like, hi, welcome to the Prince hotline, man. Prince is doing this, and he just released that, and we heard he's going to be on tour here. So, check. And, once a week I was in giving Prince news, and once a week I was in giving Michael Jackson news. And being this kind of character, man, it was like, whoa, dude, it's so cool. Don't you want to be there?
That's awesome. I remember those, like, they'd run a 30-second ad saying, you want to get updates on Prince? Or it would be in the back of a magazine of, like, whether it was Teen Beat or probably not. Who knows, man? Like,
Insane.
insane. The crazy stuff, man. It's the most fun, though. I love teaching. I've been teaching a little bit more lately, and I just love watching lights go on.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you also find that when you're teaching, you're reinforcing in yourself what it is that we should be doing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's because so much of this can be a real confidence game as well as a head game too.
Yeah.
Like when you're especially the more and more that you send in auditions from home.
Yeah.
Where you're not necessarily getting directed. I think there's a real value in going into a room with a bunch of folks who are interested in learning about this, or even stuff like this podcast, where just reconnect.
Yeah.
And you go, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're saying the same things? Okay. Just want to make sure.
And it's funny. I get people that ask me things like, well, what's the secret? And it's like, dude, it's not a secret. It really is not a secret. Yeah. There are a lot of good teachers out there. There's some people out there that have no business teaching as well. But these aren't secrets. Sometimes the difference between this teacher and that teacher, they're working in a genre that you're interested in, or they speak a language that you understand, as opposed to that next teacher who the way they give it to you, you don't quite get.
Right. It's like directors in a way. Some directors are real X's and O's guys, and some guys are like, man, I just need you to put a little bit more cinnamon in it. Can you do that for me? And then you go, but you've got a direction like that, and you go, and then your job is to go. I know exactly what you're asking
Let me
for.
translate that.
Let me see if I can make that work for you.
Cinnamon, huh?
And put a little bit more cinnamon, so I'm gonna put a little more spice in there. And then it's like, that's what I was like. That's why we book you.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
and you're like, oh gosh.
And teachers are the same way. Like some teachers will absolutely resonate with you and not with other people in the room, and vice versa. And I find myself repeating myself a lot in a class, but I'll say things 5 different ways, covering bases.
Well, not only that, but repetition is how we learn. So you got to repeat yourself anyway.
That's good.
And geez, I had a thought and it's gone.
I'll come back, man. Yeah. Come back, little thought. Come back.
I hate when that happens, but it happens for you. I'm sure it'll circle back around.
Oh yeah.
When,
3 o'clock this morning, I'll call you.
3. Perfect. I'll patch you in. What's been what's been some of the, first off, as a video, first off, here we are 40 minutes into the podcast, I'm asking my first question. What's your strategy for getting your voice back after a really vocally stressful session? Do you have
not talking, just resting it.
Yeah.
Definitely not trying to whisper, which is one of the worst things you can do when your voice is.
I've heard that, and it just seems counterintuitive. But do you know why that is?
Because you're putting so much pressure on by restricting your airflow through those cords. So don't try whispering. Just shut up. And if you're doing video games and some animation, those times that you have to shout a lot of things. Die a dozen different ways, you're going to damage your voice, and you just have to rest it. I also like tea, lemon, honey, still works for me.
Yeah.
Keep your thanks for the big bottle of water.
My pleasure. Hey man, that's what it's about.
Drink lots of water, but when your voice is ragged out, just stop talking.
Man, I just started doing more warm-ups before sessions. And that really helped too.
So what are some of your warm-ups?
One is yawning. You start by just yawning, like really.
I do that enough every day. I'm so sleepy.
I find it relaxes my cords a little bit. But my favorite one to do, like after going through like this sequence of like that kind of stuff, like lip rolls and that kind of thing, is it's a Broadway guy named Eric Arsenault. I forget exactly how he pronounces his last name, but one of the things that he recommends is actually to do like vocal fry. So after sort of loosening things up, let me get right on the microphone and do this. Well, there it is. That's where it's living. So just kind of that soft, almost like cat purr. Yeah. And sort of breathing through it and taking it real easy, but doing it maybe for like 10 minutes. I'll do it while I drive around. And the best part of it, while Dave is demonstrating, the best part... It suddenly picked up. Gabe is in the other room going, why did I pick up that hum? Where's that hum?
Yeah.
Everything was, I thought I had a pretty secure system here, and now I'm picking up this. But the thing that I've discovered is like, you know that rich, warm sort of like you have like a couple notes on the bottom of your scale in the morning.
Down on the bottom of your throat.
Bingo. That area. I can now get that at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, where normally I don't have that when I do that vocal fry.
Yeah, well, I have that first thing in the morning.
That's about when I have it. And after 2 cups of coffee and a glass of water and an egg McMuffin, which I very rarely have because I can't have cheese.
And we just learned more than we ever wanted to know.
There you go. Just so you know, don't send me cheese.
Oh, well, I'm not a cheese guy either. Isn't that interesting?
That is.
I mean, I don't have a problem. I don't know. Cheese doesn't agree with me.
Once I stopped doing dairy, I found that I don't have as much
phlegm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Along with being able to not be woken up in the middle of the night with going far too deep.
Diet has a lot to do with it. And I know there are a lot of heavy guys that have great voices and do very well, but there's we all gain and lose that, saying
Sure.
10 or 20 pounds. And when I'm up 10 or 15 or 20 pounds, I am not the artist I am when I'm down.
I'm so happy to hear you say that. Not because that, just because you, like anything, if you're not really taking care of your instrument, like for me, it's sleep. If I'm not getting the sleep I need, I'm up playing one of these fantastic video games until 1 o'clock in the morning because I finally want some me time, or just staying up late to edit something.
Yeah.
It just compromises everything.
And I guarantee the older you get, the more that affects you. So, I mean, I try to stay in shape. I work out. I've got a couple of dogs. I walk them 2 or 3 miles every morning. I lift weights. I play tennis. I'm not getting on the tennis court as much as I should lately, but I really recommend people do something active. Even another thing, too, it's tough on us now in voiceover because you become somewhat of a hermit.
Yes.
With your studio in the house and your agent sending you stuff. And sometimes you find out, there's so much last-minute stuff. Yeah. You can be a little afraid to go out, go too far away.
Yeah.
I was going to get a last-minute thing, man, and I got to get back in the studio and be able to do.
Yeah.
But I would highly recommend that people get out, talk to people.
Yeah.
Take deep breaths, run, play.
Yeah.
Talk to a kid, talk to an old person. Not only does it just get you out of your head with, when's my next gig coming? What am I?
Right.
All that stuff that drives you nuts.
Micro-focusing on your career.
But you take in life. You meet people, things that are going to bring something else to your read besides just that room that you're stuck in.
And it's so critical, especially when you circle back to some of the things we were talking about earlier about what you bring to your reads.
Yeah.
And that if you live in this hermit place and you disconnect from Gen Pop or from just people in general or family or whoever for the sake of availability.
Yeah.
That you lose your ability, I think, in a way to connect through your character work.
Yeah. Who's out there? You got to talk. Basically, we are mirrors of people in this world, and even I don't care how fantastic the world is. There's going to be some humanness because that's what we humans. That's what we connect with.
Yeah.
So you got to connect with people. You've got to talk to people. Hear their story. Be surprised by the way they're thinking and the things that affect them and how, and because we're all different, you know. You think a certain way, and then there are people that think Donald Trump is wonderful. So
right. And
try to understand them.
And try to understand them. Yeah, man. Like, even if I keep gathering friends on Facebook and then getting nervous about people on one side of one issue and another issue and them fighting on my page, because that's not why I have a page. And I kind of refuse to unfriend, just because even if you disagree, I want to understand, or I want to. I don't want some outside thing to split us apart.
I don't unfriend unless you are just completely disrespectful.
Yeah.
I think people have different points of view, and how they got there, who knows?
Right.
But one of the things I learned early in life is not everybody's going to think like you. And sometimes, even though it seems like what they think is diametrically opposed to you, sometimes it's actually not. They would like to get to the same place you would like to get. I think politically, we all want our country to be a great country.
Yeah.
Where we disagree is how we get there. Where we disagree sometimes is how we view certain people within, the person that's not doing so well and maybe does need some help. I don't necessarily view as, a bloodsucker on the tit of the government.
Right.
We are society, and especially I grew up in the Christian tradition.
Me too.
Feed the hungry,
Help each other
heal
out.
the sick, help each other out.
Yeah.
And to some, they feel like anybody in need is somehow a parasite.
Or the other part of that too that I felt was that I'm helping them by not helping them.
Yeah.
That they need to find a way to work through it, and I'll support them in any way possible. But ultimately, give a man a fish, he eats today. Teach a man to fish, and he eats for a lifetime. That mentality to charity.
Well, but by the same token, teach him to fish, but until he catches that fish, you might have to give him some fish.
That's great. That's a great addendum to that too.
I totally agree with teach a man to fish. And wow, I had no idea we were going to go here. Yeah. But I was thinking about something Hillary Clinton said, and that she's been picked on. She was talking about coal miners and coal country, that these companies and these jobs are going to go away, which she followed up with, but we have to find other industries for these workers to work in. Mm-hmm. A lot of people got very upset with her about that. And the truth is, for the sake of the planet, those jobs, one way or another, are going to have to go away. And fortunately, we all are already well on our way to having a renewable energy society.
Yeah.
Solar's doing so much better than people thought. Wind is doing so much better. There are other new technologies coming on board all the time. Elon Musk, the Tesla car is going. The tube transportation is being experimented with. They're going to do it in France. They've decided to, and they've got tubes in the desert here where they're going to try this 700-mile-an-hour transportation system that's like, I don't know how it's going to work.
Well, we couldn't visualize the internet in the 40s, or we couldn't, or, I mean, I know that they worked things out in the 50s with punch cards, but, we're all carrying personal computers, and we're hamstrung with bingo, and we're hamstrung without them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, and this is the other part of all that stuff, and the resistance to, and I mean, I try to stay fairly apolitical on the show, but who cares? I think that the great thing is, none of these technologies, no one's not making money.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, those resources, the coal is in the ground, the oil's in the ground. It belongs to the planet. We're taking it.
Yeah.
Same deal with the water and the solar and the air. If we can figure out, if someone's putting a rivet in it,
when you're
money.
taking sunlight, when you're not taking anything.
Right.
When you're using wind power, you're not taking anything. You're not polluting anything. Okay, maybe a bird will run into the the wind power thing.
Yeah.
But that's the direction the world is going in.
Yeah.
And there was a time when oil and coal were cutting edge.
Right.
They're just not anymore.
Right.
It's been a long time since we used horses as a means of real transportation, or buggies, or anything like that. Right. And the world and innovation is going to bring us new things and hopefully better things, because this climate change is real. Just watch what the weather has been doing just in this country this year.
Yeah.
We're having more tornadoes than ever, thanks to the fracking, and it's not the fracking itself, but the pumping of the water back into the ground in Oklahoma. The number and the power of the earthquakes is increasing on a geometric level. They've had more 3.0 and up earthquakes this year than last year, which was more than the year before, which was more than the year before. Unfortunately, when your finances, when you're making money from this industry that's doing that, you don't have much of an incentive to change things.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is, we should be making our decisions based on what's best for all of us, not this particular country, this particular industry.
I agree. I 100% agree. Speaking with the thought of either transitioning as new technologies emerge, and thinking in particular about these little computers that we carry around and social media, how do you, as a voice actor, I had a conversation with someone about this earlier today, maintain a social media presence, and how much do you feel that's important to your voice career? And is that something that, as someone is developing their voice career, in particular, given fan engagement, that kind of thing, what's the experience?
Communication is important in anything, and this is how the world communicates now.
Yeah.
So I know there are some curmudgeonly old guys that are, I don't want to have to do that. What tweet? What's this tweet thing? Forget this. I had a great career.
My work speaks for itself.
Yeah, those kind of, but how we interact with each other is different than how we used to interact with each other, and that will always be changing. Yeah. I mean, when the telephone came into being, it used to be, write a letter, send a note, go over to somebody's house, and then a time came where we could just call across the country. It cost a lot of money, but you could make that phone call.
Right.
Well, now we're even more instant.
Yeah.
Text messaging, that has changed how people communicate, and there are those who will complain that there are young people who don't know how to have a conversation thanks to texting, and that may be true, but this is how they communicate.
Right.
This is how they communicate, and how we're going to be communicating 10 years from now is going to be
completely different.
Completely different.
Completely.
So it behooves us to, get with the technology and move along with this juggernaut that we cannot stop. We cannot change the direction of humanity. And you can be, the only constant is change.
Yes.
And it's interesting. I just wrote an article about this, about constantly taking classes and re-upping and finding out about new things in voiceover.
Yeah.
And it seems diametrically opposed to one another. The only constant is change, and the more things change, the more they stay the same.
That's right.
And the change is how we do things. The not change, the staying the same, is as human beings, we pretty much are staying the same creature that we are. How we communicate may be different, but we must communicate.
Yes.
We're going to touch each other's lives in one way or another. What instruments we use to do that, that's going to change. But in our business, we want to be believed. Our reads need to be believable. Yeah. And however we get there, whether it's this microphone or another microphone. By the way, just discovered a great new, well, they're not that new, microphone, Latvia, JZ microphones.
JZ
I just
microphones?
blew my mind. JZ, I was up in San Francisco teaching, and Elaine Clark, who teaches up there, had one, and it was like, wow.
JZ is in 99 Problems, JZ, or JZ, the letters JZ?
The letters JZ. It's not his microphone.
Okay.
They're made in Latvia.
Okay.
Latvia.
These are Latvia JZ microphones.
Microphone.
Are they, what are they comparable to?
Neumann.
Wow.
Manley. They're, just great microphone. But anyway, how did I get on that?
Cycling back through. Let me rewind the podcast.
No, the world is constantly going to be changing.
The world is changing, and the thing that is the constant, as you said, is like our need to tell believable stories and to be heard and to communicate and to connect beyond what our instruments of communication allow us to do.
And that one of those new instruments now, virtual reality.
Oh man.
Have
you played with that yet?
I have played with it. It's amazing.
Woo.
I have gotten dizzy on roller coasters with those things because your mind doesn't know you're still just sitting in that chair.
It's crazy.
They've got amusement parks now that are a quarter the size because instead of the roller coaster really going up and down, there's a series of seats that are mechanical, and you got 15 people in those seats.
Yeah.
They put on the glasses, and what they see is one thing, and then the chairs just kind of go up and down a little bit, but not forward. And
right. It's like Star Tours in that way. It's just personal.
Yeah.
And I for Christmas, my brother got us. We had like a $5 limit. We did like super cheap this year, like or $20. Like go to World Market and get like a fistful of chocolates and a summer sausage you put in a stocking. But he got us Google Cardboard. And it was $5, and that thing, there's an app called VRVS, I think, something like that, but it's associated with the New York Times, and there was a music video by U2 on there that they produced, and these guys are always doing cutting edge stuff, but they produced a music video of one of their songs, and it was done in 360-degree VR.
Wow.
And it is spectacular. When you put the thing in, you put your phone inside the little cardboard deal, and I mean, it's so powerfully immersive that it scared me a little bit.
Yeah.
And I have techno joy. And this particular thing was like
techno joy.
I'm stealing that from Eddie Izzard. I have to give Eddie Izzard the best. I'm not a technophobia. I have technophobia. I'm techno joy. I love it. And that scared me to the level of the immersion.
Yeah.
Like
that. As a matter of fact, that's one of the problems they're having scary video games with virtual reality. If you're in a movie theater, you have peripheral vision. And your ears actually hear the other people around you as well as the movie, and it kind of centers you. It kind of grounds you in reality, even though these images even though you get a little scared.
Yeah.
I'm in this movie theater.
Yeah.
When you put those glasses on and the headphones are on, now all of that's gone, and people get more afraid, and they've got to worry about things like heart attacks, and they're finding with video games that are scary that they have to back off of how scary they make them because people react more in virtual reality than they do in a movie theater.
That's amazing.
It is
It
amazing.
makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, do you remember the movie Brainstorm?
Oh, yeah.
With Jeff Bridges and Natalie Wood, I think. I think that's right. It was that same thing, or Strange Days. Like, it's fascinating.
Strange Days.
Strange Days.
Ooh, yeah. Classic.
That's right.
But I think virtual reality is going to change so much. Vacations. You can't afford to go to Greece. Oh, great. Well, put it on and away you go.
That's right.
And I love the idea that when you look up, you turn your head. It's reality. Oh, I turned my head and that's over there. I turned my head and that's over there. But vacations, education, entertainment.
There's a video of a woman painting a 3D object in using, I think it's the HTC Vive. And she's using the two things, and she's creating a three-dimensional sculpture using paint. And Sherry was looking at it yesterday, and it was the first time I've heard her say anything positive about VR. 'Cause she's kind of been like, it gets too much screen time as it is. I don't want it in it. So I'm like, okay. But just fascinating.
Yeah. I think this is an exciting time to live in the world. There's some scary things.
Yeah.
I just hope, politically, that our country makes the choice does not make the choice of fear.
I agree.
Fear and hate never takes you down the right road. Mm-mm. It never takes you down the right road. I hope we, as a country, make the choice for progress and working together, loving one another, or at least tolerating one another.
At least tolerating. I can get behind that 100%. Dave, what do you have coming out? How can people engage with you?
Well, you can check me out on Facebook, Dave Fennoy. You can, if you're interested in voiceover classes, voiceactingforgames.com. You can visit my website as well, davefennoy.com. Follow me at Dave Fennoy. Just Google Dave Fennoy. I'm in there. I am so in there. And I try to engage as much as I can with fans and also voice actors and people who want to, just engage. I do stay pretty busy, so it might take me a minute to get back to you, but I do. I like to think of myself as somebody who just kind of regular. Mm-hmm. Just kind of regular.
Well, you're. I've been so grateful to be blessed with your friendship, and I'm just so happy to be able to come in and spend a Wednesday afternoon talking talking stuff.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, one of the best things about what I do are the people I get to work with, like you, Kiff.
Oh, thank you.
Because you're a major talent, and once again, we started talking about voiceover people being some of the nicest people in the entertainment business, and so many are so supportive of their fellow talents, and you're one of those. And woohoo!
Thanks, man. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening, and we hope to catch you again soon. Check out the website. There's a blog, and it's allovervoiceover.com, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Bye,
Have a great one.
kids.
Bye. Thank you for joining us on All Over Voiceover with Kiff VH. Please take a moment to review the show and let other folks know what you thought. And if you dug it, please subscribe. Follow the show on Twitter at AllOverVO and check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/AllOverVO with Kiff VH. That's it for this time. You get what you get, and don't get upset. Claim victory and depart the field.